And that what in fact happened was Justin didn't harass Blake. Blake was interested in wresting control of this movie away from Justin, who was the director and the producer. She was just an actress in it. And used threats and coercion and bullying to do it. And to the point where this guy was in the basement at his own movies.
Oscar Buzz and Honey, today's headline drama, Blake Lively. And not just your typical Hollywood scandal. Oh no, we're talking about a potential 5-year prison sentence. Because apparently, a lawsuit alone wasn't messy enough. Why not throw in the possibility of jail time for that extra cinematic flair? So grab the most luxurious, overpriced popcorn you can find, because this situation is turning wilder than the movie they all seem to forget they were even making. Let's rewind. Way back, like ancient Hollywood history. Okay, maybe just a couple of years, but still. Remember when the entire internet collectively lost it over the announcement of It Ends With Us hitting the big screen? The best-selling book that had everyone in their feelings was finally getting a movie adaptation. Fans were hyped. Expectations? Sky high. At first, it seemed like the stars had aligned perfectly. Justin Baldoni, king of emotional storytelling, was set to direct. Blake Lively, Hollywood's queen of sharp comebacks and undeniable depth, landed the lead role. It was the dream team, the perfect combo. The media loved it. Fans were ecstatic, and for a moment, it felt like we were about to witness something iconic unfold. But this is Hollywood, and you already know. Nothing ever goes that smoothly. The moment cameras started rolling, the drama kicked in. Word on the street? Lively wanted to sprinkle in some of her signature humor, add a little lighthearted charm to the script. But Baldoni? He wasn't having it. His vision? A gut-wrenching, tear-jerking masterpiece, just like the book. Because who needs witty one-liners when you're aiming to emotionally wreck an audience, right? Oh, and don't even get me started on the wardrobe disaster. That's a whole other storm we'll dive into in a minute. But first, just imagine this. Fans, eagerly waiting for cinematic magic, only to watch their dream adaptation crumble into a behind-the-scenes battleground. The chaos? Unmatched. Let's be real, if you're adapting a novel that's dripping in raw emotion and personal growth, maybe, just maybe, don't go overboard with the comedy. But that's exactly what Baldoni was trying to get across, allegedly. Meanwhile, Lively's camp? They were all about bringing in sassy humor and wrapping heartbreak in luxury. Because why settle for gut-wrenching drama when you can serve pain with a side of haute couture, right? Who needs emotional devastation when you can accessorize it with diamonds? But the moment those behind-the-scenes shots hit the internet, fans were confused. Wasn't this supposed to be the kind of story that ripped hearts apart? Not a fashion-forward rom-com? The images told a different story, one that looked way more lighthearted than the emotionally raw experience everyone had braced for. And, of course, the internet exploded. Fans were side-eyeing, critics were murmuring, and behind closed doors? Lively and Baldoni were in a full-blown creative standoff. Word is, Baldoni hit her with the real talk. Cut the comedy, or you'll drown the book's soul in punchlines and Prada. But Lively, in full Hollywood power move mode, clapped back with, "Honey, modern audiences need a little comedic relief. Because obviously, nothing makes heartbreak land harder than a perfectly timed snarky one-liner, right? At first, it seemed like your typical creative clash. Classic Hollywood drama. Nothing too unusual. Oh, but buckle up, because this little Hollywood tiff didn't just fizzle out. It erupted into a full-blown legal catastrophe. Lively? She reportedly felt like she was being pushed aside, sidelined in her own starring role. And Baldoni? Oh, he was locked and loaded with receipts, ready to fire back. But here's where the real Hollywood plot twist drops. Baldoni didn't just clap back, he went full blockbuster mode and hit Lively with a jaw-dropping, eye-watering $400 million defamation lawsuit. Yes, you read that right. 400 million! Because in Tinseltown, a petty few million just won't cut it. If you're gonna play the legal game, you go big. We're talking numbers so outrageous, they sound like they belong in a government defense budget. So, what's his angle? Baldoni claims Lively painted him as a Hollywood dictator, shutting her out of major creative decisions. But behind the scenes, He insists she was the real mastermind, relentlessly pushing for those comedic rewrites, maybe even demanding them. So now the question is, was Lively truly the victim, boxed out of her own project? Or was she secretly pulling the strings, crafting a whole new vision for the film behind the scenes? Depends on who you believe. Anywhere else, this would be your typical, he said. She said drama. But, darling, this is Hollywood. So naturally, we're slapping on a couple of extra zeros and making sure every gossip outlet gets a front row seat. Because if your reputation is going up in flames, might as well make it a cinematic spectacle. And just when you thought things couldn't get messier, here comes a rumor so wild it might just set this whole thing on fire. Whispers that Blake Lively might have misrepresented or even straight up fabricated evidence. And if that turns out to be true, oh honey, this entire saga is about to take a nuclear turn. Oh, but the whispers keep getting louder, and now insiders are hinting at something even juicier. Text messages, meeting transcripts, and maybe even some shady videos that could blow Lively's whole narrative apart. Allegedly, this so-called evidence contradicts her claims about how much comedic fluff she was really pushing for. And let's be real, Hollywood lawsuits are usually about three things: money, ego, and bragging rights. But when prison time gets tossed into the mix, oh honey, now we've got ourselves a full-blown thriller. Could Blake Lively, the queen of sharp wit and effortless glam, really be staring down up to 5 years behind bars for perjury or something dangerously close to it? In Hollywood, where NDAs and hush-hush settlements are practically part of the starter kit, that kind of talk is next-level messy. Some are saying this whole Blake might go to jail narrative is nothing more than a power move, a high-stakes bluff. The message? Settle this lawsuit, or we just might have to drop these receipts in the cop's lap. And let's be honest, just mentioning jail time is enough to send anyone into panic mode. This isn't about losing a movie role or writing a check to make it all go away. This is potentially trading couture for a prison uniform. And yet, the rumor mill, it won't stop spinning. Blink once, and suddenly there's a leaked text. Blink again, and now there's some mysterious video clip floating around. It's almost like these so-called evidence leaks are more about backing Lively into a corner than proving anything solid. Because let's be real, nothing says I'm dead serious, quite like dangling the thread of an orange jumpsuit. Oh, but let's not forget the fashion fiasco, because that's another storm in this Hollywood hurricane. At first, Lively was all in. Early script notes and some seriously spicy behind-the-scenes chatter suggest she was pushing for high fashion moments in It Ends With Us. Think, designer gowns, statement heels, and camera angles so sharp they could cut glass, all making sure every couture piece got its close-up. But then, boom, the backlash hit. Fans and critics weren't having it, calling out the film for trampling all over the book's raw, emotional essence. And just like that, Lively hit reverse at lightning speed. Baldoni's team claims that's when the real drama exploded, because, according to them, Lively wasn't just along for the ride, she was front and center, handpicking those flashy outfits and comedic beats. Yet, when the internet turned on the movie's glossy aesthetic, she allegedly started acting like it was all forced on her. So what's the truth? Was Lively overwhelmed by the sudden shift in tone, caught up in the Hollywood machine? Or was she the mastermind behind the whole comedy and couture remix from the start? Hollywood's divided. Some say she just rolled with it at first, then panicked when the negative press rolled in. Others swear she flipped the script the second she realized the audience wasn't buying what she was selling. One thing's for sure, this entire situation is peak Hollywood. A story about deep emotional trauma is now getting completely overshadowed by arguments over comedic one-liners and Gucci belts. And honestly, if that's not the definition of Tinseltown insanity, I don't know what is. And because no Hollywood scandal is complete without dragging in another A-lister, enter Ryan Reynolds. Yep, the rumor mill is spinning, and whispers say he might have been the secret comedic genius behind some of the punchlines and even a potential cameo idea. And let's be real, when you're married to Deadpool himself, how do you not tap into that comedic gold? Especially if you're trying to balance heartbreak with humor. But then, oh, you already know. Once the book's die-hard fans started side-eyeing the film's tone shift, well, guess what happened next? And just like that, poof! Those Ryan Reynolds cameo rumors vanished. Suddenly, it was like he was never even part of the conversation. And Lively? Oh, she was doing everything to act like she was never on board with his comedic influence. But let's be real, this is the age of social media, and private suggestions have a way of resurfacing as Exhibit A, B, or C in a lawsuit faster than you can say PR nightmare. Of course, none of this is officially confirmed, but let's be honest. We live for a juicy Hollywood rumor. Maybe Reynolds was never involved, maybe he was. But the real gag? This whole cameo drama is a classic case of Hollywood's favorite game, the backtrack. 1 minute, everyone's hyped, brainstorming ways to lighten up a heavy film. The next, the public turns on it, and suddenly the stars are all like, who? Us? We had nothing to do with that. So what does the celeb playbook say to do next? Deny, deny, deny. Because the alternative? Being labeled as the comedic villain who single-handedly ruined a beloved novel. Meanwhile, Baldoni, he's just sitting there holding receipts, and guess who's left scrambling to clean up the mess? Yep, you already know. But now? Forget Hollywood politics, we've entered real legal territory. Talk of perjury is circling, and that takes this entire fiasco to a whole new level. Defamation lawsuits? Those are usually about bruised egos and fat checks getting tossed around. But criminal charges? Oh, that's a whole different beast. For Lively to actually end up behind bars, there would have to be solid, undeniable proof that she straight up lied under oath or falsified evidence. And if that kind of evidence really does exist? Oh, but just the whiff of this scandal has tabloids in an absolute frenzy. Fans? Sitting there, jaws on the floor? Blake Lively? Prison? Is this even real life? Except, honey, it's not some internet joke anymore, especially if new evidence keeps surfacing that contradicts her statements. And now, even legal experts are jumping in. Some are saying that in certain places, perjury can carry a sentence of up to 5 years. Now, is that the maximum sentence, or a real possibility for Lively? Nobody knows. But that hasn't stopped headlines from screaming 5 years at us from every single corner of the internet. And of course, the theories are flying. Some believe Baldoni's team is just playing up the legal drama to gain leverage. Others? They're convinced Lively might have stretched the truth a little too far, and now she's stuck in the hot seat of Hollywood's biggest scandal. Either way, the phrase Blake Lively might go to prison is so scandalous, it's completely stealing the spotlight from the actual movie. And that's the real heartbreak. The fans who just wanted to see It Ends With Us come to life without a side order of courtroom chaos? And yet, here we are. So, what happens now? Where does that leave the adaptation the entire world was dying to see? Well, stuck in Hollywood limbo, naturally. Investors aren't exactly lining up to throw money at a project drowning in legal drama and potential jail time. And until this mess gets sorted, that dream adaptation might just stay on the shelf indefinitely. How do you market a movie when the only thing people want to talk about is perjury and those oh-so-controversial comedic rewrites? That's the problem right now. The PR teams? Oh, they're in full-blown crisis mode, dodging legal questions instead of rolling out teaser trailers. And Baldoni? He still insists he's committed to preserving the book's emotional depth. But let's be real. At this point, more people are invested in the real-life drama than the actual film. One day, the gossip mill is whispering that hush-hush settlement talks are underway, both sides desperate to keep this mess out of an open courtroom. The next, fresh rumors drop, claiming Lively's legal team has some serious counterpunches lined up, ready to flip the narrative. And while the lawyers play chess, fans on social media, they're tracking every single twist in real time, half wanting a faithful adaptation, half secretly living for the sheer spectacle. But let's not forget the real victim in all this. The book itself. It Ends With Us was supposed to be a story about personal growth, resilience, and healing. Yet if you're only following the headlines, you'd think the biggest debate was whether Lively's comedic one-liners and designer wardrobe destroyed the book's emotional core. So now, the million-dollar question, or should we say $400 million question, is, can this film even be saved? Or is it doomed to be remembered as that movie? The one with the outrageous lawsuit, the Hollywood meltdown, and the looming threat of jail time? And of course, we're left with the classic Tinseltown punchline that sums up this entire mess. How did a deeply emotional story about healing turn into a Hollywood circus of lawsuits, multi-million-dollar defamation claims, and felony charges? Only Hollywood holds the answers. And let's be honest, it's not exactly rushing to hand out explanations. Will Blake Lively actually step foot in a courtroom? Or worse, gulp inside a prison cell? Will Baldoni really walk away with that staggering $400 million defamation payout? Or is this all just a high-stakes power play, waiting to see who blinks first? Maybe, just maybe, they'll settle behind closed doors, quietly wrap up the film, and slap on a tagline that reads, "Inspired by the novel and the most chaotic behind-the-scenes disaster you've ever seen." Because let's face it, in Hollywood, reality is always wilder than the fiction it's trying to sell. One thing's for sure, this mess isn't going to fade away quietly. In the coming weeks and months, expect the drama to keep escalating. Think leaked transcripts, cryptic Instagram posts, and half-hearted apologies so vague they say absolutely nothing. One thing's for sure. We're all glued to this mess, hooked on a Hollywood disaster so wild, not even the best screenwriter could have dreamed it up. And meanwhile, it ends with us sits forgotten, collecting dust on some studio shelf, waiting for its moment in the chaos. Maybe, just maybe, we'll finally get the adaptation we deserve. Or maybe we'll just get a cautionary tale about how Hollywood can take a beloved emotional story and turn it into a comedic tragedy of epic proportions. Because if there's one thing Tinseltown does better than movies, it's drama. And let's be real, this saga is far from over. So stay tuned, because if 5 years in prison sounded like a shocking twist, just wait. You know Hollywood, there's always another jaw-dropping turn just around the corner, and it usually shows up in designer heels. In the City of Angels, your biggest dreams can turn into a nightmare of lawsuits, felonies, front-page scandals, and a cast list that just keeps getting starrier. And honestly, that's exactly why we just can't look away. If you're living for the drama, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next wild Hollywood meltdown. Because trust me, this show is far from over. See you on the next one.